there's a lot of ambivalence involved when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? And the excitement and the fear go hand in hand. Well, with you, right? And I was like a sponge, right? Observe and absorb, right? Soak it in, right? And that really affected me. I have noticed that most successful startup entrepreneurs, or actually most entrepreneurs, are the ones who are observant and eager to learn, right? Those people are genuinely devoid of any personal egos.
Hi, viewers. My name is Upesh Jain. Greetings from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm the host of the Exec Talk channel, a forum I started to talk to CEOs and executives about their journeys and distill their experiences and learnings for our viewers' benefit. It is truly my privilege to be talking to Ajay Jain, a Valley longtimer, a self-made serial entrepreneur. Beneath his calm, composed, and friendly demeanor is a guy who has executed on 4 successful startups in a period of approximately 2 decades. As the saga unfolds, it will become evident what I'm talking about. In his early days in the Valley, even while working for other employers, Ajay always had a very strong propensity to do something of his own. He would always be coming up with and bouncing ideas off of peers and mentors. There was always something brewing inside of him. So in order to better understand his journey, let's take a quick peek into Ajay's background. Ajay obtained an undergraduate degree in mathematics and economics at Delhi University in 1987 and earned an MS in computer and information science at Clarkson University in 1989. Later, he also earned an MBA from Levy School of Business at Santa Clara University, making him my fellow alumnus. Ajay also spent his initial years working for companies such as Cadence Design Systems, Clarify, and Netscape in various engineering and management roles. He first founded Market First Software, a marketing automation company, in 1997 with a friend. This was later acquired by the then publicly traded company Pivotal Corp to extend their CRM suite. He then founded Mokume Software that delivered next-generation real-time solutions to global customers in the manufacturing industry. This was acquired by the then publicly traded company Versant Corp in 2002. He then became the founder and CEO of Quantum Secure Inc., a leading provider of enterprise software to manage and streamline security identities, compliance, and events across disparate physical security systems. In 2005, he started this company. And in 2015, this was acquired by Assa Abloy, a publicly traded Swedish conglomerate doing $20 billion. Despite several successful exits, Ajay can't seem to take the entrepreneurial bug out of him. Today, Ajay Jain is the founder, president, and CEO of VectorFlow Inc., a data science and artificial intelligence company offering India's industry's first physical security automation platform. Ajay founded VectorFlow in 2019, where he drives the company's strategic direction and manages overall operations. Besides entrepreneurship, in his personal life, Ajay is passionate about philanthropy. He's an avid fitness buff and a hiking enthusiast, having hiked various trails in the Bay Area, Alaska, and Banff, amongst others. In his spare time, he likes to listen to music, read books, explore his great collection of wines from all around the world, travel and play various sports, or just simply hang out with friends and enjoy a laugh. Ajay, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to my channel. In addition, for our viewers, I'd like to clarify something. Although we have the same last names, We are not related, but I'm perfectly okay you adopting me.
Hey, glad to be here, Upesh. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to your viewers. And first of all, congratulations on such an amazing initiative you are undertaking. As as far as adoption is concerned, absolutely, buddy. Where would I find a grown-up, fully trained, very capable, somewhat very handsome, kid? So welcome to the Jain family, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Jokes apart, should we get right into our Q&A or?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
You're adopted, by the way, but
Okay.
we can get
Thank
started.
you. Thank you. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and for the benefit of our viewers. So Ajay, let's wind the clock back a little bit. When you were growing up, your father was a bureaucrat in the Indian Administrative Service. Your mother was a physician. What influences did that upbringing have on your childhood? And more importantly, your thought process? Did you have, besides them, did you have any other role models, influences in your life?
Yeah, so my parents were very accomplished, and growing up, my childhood was quite privileged, I would say. My father was super genius. He topped all through his academic career. He earned MS in mathematics with distinction from Allahabad University, which is one of the top tier universities of that time in India. He topped his IAS examination in India. He was also the topper in London School of Economics. And my mom was a phenomenal doctor and alongside raised her three children very well. So growing up, I was around many accomplished people who have been influencing my life all through and my thinking all through. And I learned a lot from them. And observing my parents, I learned several things. I cannot sort of tell you all, but a few things come to my mind. First, extreme hard work. Both of them were workaholics. They never left anything half baked, and I think I have some traits of that in me. I believe as genes. Secondly, I think it's the discipline and the commitment, right? How to prioritize your task, how to do time management and how to take tough decisions. My father, not only for the family, many times there are tougher decisions for the family as well, which I've seen him taking it, but even for the nation, I've seen him taking some very tough decisions, right? So that actually leaves an impact on me as well as I was growing up and I was sort of, soaking in with my observations, seeing these two, people in my life. And the third one is very important for me, which is leadership. I learned from my father how to be brave, how to be courageous, and how to develop competence, that self-confidence that, many people lack. And I've seen him I've never seen him actually disturbed or worried about anything, even when he was in his low days, right? My mother, on the other end, taught me the value of relationship and living in peace and collaboration with others. One incident that touched my heart quite a lot, and actually that touched all of our hearts, like my two siblings as well, when we were growing up, is that in my childhood days, my older mama and mommy, my mother's brother, both of them died at early ages. And they were one of the most admired and revered, people in our family. And my mother, single-handedly dedicated her life to raising their five children then. So these kinds of incidents and situations leave a deep mark on you, especially when you are young, right? She taught me humility. She taught me how to stay humble. She taught me, how to be helpful to others. She was very kind and generous. But there are other people in my life as well who have consistently helped me shape my thinking, ranging from my family members, my spouse, my children, my friends, my coworkers, my even co-founders, right? See, you have to be a great student of learning, right? You have to genuinely make an effort to learn. And if you are open-minded, people around you will teach great stuff. And in turn, you'll become an amazing human being, right? My father Actually, my father always used to say, surround yourself with amazing people and amazing things will happen to you. And it's 100% true, not just professionally, but also in personal life. Your friend circle, your social circle. If you surround yourself with amazing people, believe it or not, amazing things will happen to you for sure.
Totally. Wow. Seems like you saw a lot early on in your life, and the learning was so deep-seated, and having role models and parents is very profound, right? And it certainly has shaped the direction of your life.
Absolutely.
So Ajay, I mean, I just went into your background as well, and I saw that you've been a serial entrepreneur. Do you believe you had entrepreneur genes, or was it developed over time? In other words, are entrepreneurs born, or can those values be imbibed or learned? And we also learned that a true example of your entrepreneurship spirit was exhibited when you were still an undergraduate student in Delhi University. You co-authored a student self-help book called The Basic Mathematical Economics that we heard became a bestseller and sold 6,500 copies in 5 years. So tell us something about the circumstances under which that came about and what you learned from that experience, right? And keep the original question in mind: are entrepreneurs born, or are they cultivated?
Yeah. So first of all, on the book, actually, let me start off with the entrepreneur question of your.
Okay.
Well, I think the genetic makeup and the environment you live in, the social interaction with people around you, constantly shape you. So I think it's both, right? I believe your genes shape certain parts of your emotions, certain feelings. The genes actually impact your chemical mechanism of the brain and bring those feelings and emotions out, right? Which are more suited towards being entrepreneur. Like the basic trait of an entrepreneur is to be an extrovert, right? To take risk, to be open-minded. I think are determined by, I believe, by the genetic makeup of yours. And it shapes your personality, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not that it gives you a business plan in hand and you can go and run a business, right? It shapes your personality.
The underpinnings that,
Exactly. Absolutely. 100%. But it's not enough, right? One really learns a lot from the environment around you, from the people around you, things happening around you, the day-to-day environment you are living in, right? The companies you are interacting with, the people, the leaders of that time, which are influencing you all the time, right? All these things shape your behavior and thoughts if you are observant and open to learning. I have noticed that most successful startup entrepreneurs, or actually most entrepreneurs, are the ones who are observant and eager to learn. Right, those people are genuinely devoid of any personal egos, and I think those are some of the traits. I would say both your genetic makeup and your understanding of the environment and learning from the environment that actually makes you a successful entrepreneur in the end. Now,
so the foundation comes from your genetics, and then you build the edifice of the entrepreneurship by learning things and all other traits that you mentioned.
Exactly right. There are many people who have a great foundation, but they don't get the environment to learn. They don't get the environment to blossom. And so they don't become entrepreneur, and vice versa, right? If you have a very less traits of becoming entrepreneur, you get a tremendous environment to become an entrepreneur. You start a company, but you don't do very well. Why? Because, your basic traits of taking a risk, being open-minded, being extrovert, ability to pitch your product, it's not there, right? So, so I think it's a mix of both. In the end, that's how you define yourself to be, an entrepreneur. Now, coming back to the book, first of all, it was not a bestseller.
Okay.
Those bestsellers are like, and those
New York bestseller.
don't compare with the New York. I mean, you're talking about mid 1980s, right? I mean, those are the bestseller in the university.
Of course. Perhaps that's what I'm.
But thank you very much for saying that. But coming to the book part, in my undergraduate days, it was I think it was mid 80s or late 80s time frame, when I was there. And as they say, necessity is the mother of all inventions, right?
Yeah.
1980s, there was no Google, there was no RA or TA ship out there, right? And the professors were extremely busy, right? I mean, they used to have few professors which are very good, and they were extremely busy. So what does one do if you are in a position to require some help? You need some clarifications or understanding on a complex topic, right? So people rely on two things: external tuition, your tutors, or your friends, right? And both options are have problems, right? Your tuition, you don't know where to get the tuition from. The public transportation wasn't that good, so how do you go there if you're living in a hostel? There's all kinds of problems with the tuition, right? And those people are also, like, just like professors, overloaded for things like that. And relying on friends is really a challenge, because you don't know, whether the dude is actually genius or not, right? I mean, he may teach you some wrong stuff too, right? So we faced this problem when I was there, and especially mathematics was such a tough subject, right? You have to be, very clear in your thoughts to, go to the next stage. So we interviewed, believe it or not, at that time, we interviewed over 100 students randomly. And every single one of them said, yes, this is the problem. So the problem definition was very clear. It was a big hit, right? And then we sort of started writing. And the idea really was that, how do we distill down, this whole mathematics piece of it into certain sets of, self-help, understanding of concepts, so that if you read that, you are pretty much proficient to take any exam, of that level, in the university. So we partnered with a very senior professor of mathematics in Delhi School of Economics in our final year, and simplified this complex problems into simple definitions, right? And it was released. The book was released, and it was a big success. My two other co-founders, co-writers, co-authors, are my we used to just sit around. We used to take hotel rooms, and we would spend weekends to manually write the content in as plain, simple words as possible. And by the way, we did generate a lot of royalties out of that book. And all of us decided to just donate 100% of it. So, that was another thing that I applaud at that time and age, that God gave me some courage to do that. And lastly, you asked about my learnings associated with the book writing experience. I think my biggest learning, I would say, is that there is a solution to every problem, right? You just have to be right in defining the problem, right? If the problem definition is right, 9 out of 10 times you will succeed in finding a great solution, right? And same goes in the business. Many times you go out and try to define a problem, which is sort of a vitamin and not actually a problem. You're not creating an antibiotic, out there, and therefore you're very much scrambling to find the market, right? So definition of, by this example itself, the definition of a problem is extremely important to be an entrepreneur.
I mean, that talking to 100 students, or what was basically doing a market survey of sorts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and arriving at the problem statement. So, no, thanks for sharing that. Absolutely amazing, considering the day and age. And your age. I mean, you were a young student, and I think that optimism that you talk about existed in you at that time, and you made utmost use of it. So thank you for that. That's awesome. So if I want to start a company, or if one of my viewers wants to start a company today, how should they go about doing it, right? I mean, and now that you're a seasoned veteran in terms of, having done so many startups and having the battle scars, right? I mean, what's your views on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ambivalence involved when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? And the excitement and the fear go hand in hand. So my suggestion is, be open-minded, right? Find what you love, your passion, right? Be impatient till you find the right problem to solve, and you will be okay, right? I mean, just like the example, right, I gave you, I mean, I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur in the undergraduate level, right? We were just trying to solve some problem, right? So, finding a right problem to solve and then solving it in a right way is, what it takes to start a company. But I would say starting a company is simple, right? I encourage all young and old folks alike to give it a try. People, many times overthink many things, right? They their own mind play games and prevent them from starting anything, right? They become overly critical to their own situation and discard ideas even before starting something new, right? I mean, you keep on thinking, about, you overthink yourself and you basically say, no, this can be done, or hundreds of people can do it. It's that simple, right? Yeah. But, in my mind, the creativity and innovation cannot have all the answers up front, right? One does, I mean, if all the answers are up front, right, then the idea at hand is not creative and innovative, right? Because it's been solved and you've answered all the questions, right? There's no business around it. So once you remove your mental block of finding all answers up front, you're ready to start, right? It's that simple. And I believe there are three major ingredients to starting a company, right? I would say, everything starts with an ideation, right? Creative process of finding a pain point to solve and real pain point to solve, right? Gap that no one else has filled properly, but it's a real gap, right? For example, in my book writing experience, as I was talking about, right, the pain was detected and solution was created, right? And it became hit, bestseller at that time, right? Quantum Secure, when we started, I went, and experienced within the group of a lot of physical security professionals, certain kind of pain, right, with my partner. And we just basically went through this process of really isolating the pain. And once we isolated the pain, that was the idea around which we will develop the product, right? It's that simple. I would say use your mental power and find disruptions in any age-old ways of doing business. Just like Uber or Google, did it in their own time, right? It was very difficult to go to the library and search something, right? To, go to the encyclopedia, read it and search something. So Google founded what, Google is today, right? If it is in your domain, great. If it is not in your domain, that's fine too. Ideas also involve product, because once you have an idea, the product go hand in hand. Your product has to be differentiated. Your product has to meet the real challenge or the real problems, that you have discovered. And that's the ideation part of it. I also feel that the market plays an important role in this ideation part of it, right? There should be a market for your solution, your product, right? The market size is very important also, as they call it, it TAM, right? TAM.
Target addressable market.
Yeah, total addressable market size should be large, right? I mean, a good idea with a small TAM or small market will give you a small business, right? An average idea with a large market or large TAM, your team can ultimately pivot and make it a very large business if you have a great team, right? So 90% of the companies fail here because they have an idea, they build a product, and the market does not accept it 100%, right? And that's where the concept of the product market fit comes into the picture. You have to have a great product market fit in order for you to excel to the next stage.
Right.
The third ingredient, which I think is the most important ingredient in this, and the thing is the team, right? Your co-founder, the people you're working with. I always tell my people in my company, the T in teams is trust, right? And E in teams means execution, right? The last three companies I did, we all had different ideas in all three companies, but there was one thing which was common in all three companies, which was my co-founder, Vic, right? And many other people I currently work with, are common in all these three companies. So team is so important that I cannot, really emphasize that how it's one of the most important ingredient, around everything that you do, right, in the business. And the right team can make a bad idea into a phenomenal one. And a wrong team can do vice versa. So choose your partners, your initial team very, very well. I would say kill your ego, work hard to manage other people's ego, get the right board members initially. I tell you one story, my first board member, was a phenomenal engineer turned CEO and an amazing human being. His name was Raj Singh, who was the founder of Sirent, which was acquired by Cisco in late 90s, I think, early 2000, for $7 billion. He was also the founder of Redback Networks and Stratum One, and both got acquired for over a couple $1 billion, right? So, and he invested since then, he invested in all my ventures to date as well. So it is important that the team, that once you form it, it is a repetitive process with other companies that you do as well. I would say another last thing I would say is, you got to start your venture, whatever you're thinking, got to start with customer experience in mind, right? And work backwards to the technology. The key to success is not the technology. Like a broken record, I've been saying to everyone, technology is not a business. It's an enabler, right? Find incredible ways to help customers. Don't be in a hurry. Have an ability to sustain yourself with small resources till you hit the product market fit, right? Which is very important. Capital will come your way faster than you can process, right? So don't worry about funding. It will be there once you find the product market fit, right? Be confident, be open-minded, and eliminate fluff. Find real problem. You will have a real business, and I guarantee it.
Wow. That's a lot of learning there. And, they say if you make your passion your work, you don't have to work another day in your life, right? I heard you saying passion drives you, and you told us all about the trust and the execution and the teams. So tell us about your journey, the first time from being a salaried employee to an entrepreneur, and tell us the thoughts you had at that time, right? There's a lot of people go through this. There's analysis paralysis, and they're at the cusp of starting a company, but then they have self-doubt or whatever that is, right? So what catapulted you to start your first, company, and then subsequently others? I guess once you started one, then that fear is slightly less for the second one. But the very first time, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, Upesh. Isn't this a big dilemma of today?
Yeah.
Most of the young entrepreneurs are people who are on the fence, and I think the wording that you said, if you love what you do, you don't have to work another day in your life, I think was said by Confucius, if I'm not mistaken. But there's more to it, right? I mean, one still have to work, but the work is not a chore, right? It's a pleasure, right? And if you are doing something with pleasure, then it means that you're always in a blissful state, right? Isn't it? So
you want to do more of it,
and
right?
you want to do more and more of it, right? So that's actually very true, that if you do what you love to do, then you don't have to work for a day, because generally the work is the chore, which you really don't want to do it, but you're forced to do it because of certain things, right? So vast majority of the people want to jump ship from being a salaried employee to an entrepreneur for sure, right? But fail to do so. Partly you can blame it on the genes, things that we talked about, extrovert, taking risks, things like that. The genetic makeup has to be right, in order for somebody to really jump the fence and become an entrepreneur from a salaried employee, right? But then there is a practical side of the house as well. Many times you don't want to really disrupt a constant source of income amidst the responsibilities of raising family, or maybe other responsibilities you may have. So these are some of the things that sort of deter people to jump ship. If you look into me, I mean, I always personally had an entrepreneurial mindset from the beginning, right? I tell you another story of mine. Not a lot of people know this thing, but when I was 25 years old, maybe 26, 25, 26, and barely started working for a chip design company in San Jose, which was Cadence Design Systems. I think you worked there probably, for over a year. I opened up a restaurant with a few partners outside the Berkeley University, right?
Wow.
Why did I do that? I mean, it was basically the the inner side of my genetic makeup was calling and
Right.
making me do certain kinds of things, right? The book writing experience, it was entrepreneurial task in itself, in my undergraduate days, but
Mhm.
my real entrepreneurial, genes really perked up when I worked for a company called Netscape in mid 90s.
Mhm.
As you know, Netscape was a disruptive giant and massively successful company of that time.
Totally Jim Clark and those.
Yeah, yeah, it was an amazing venture, and I happened to be there. And everyone around you at that time was very positive, and they were talking about vision, possibilities, business expansion, business ideas. It was like a very incestuous, environment around you. And
Mhm.
even I was the lowest level in that
Mhm.
company, but
Mhm.
executives like Jim Clark, Mark Andreessen,
Mhm.
Ram Shriram, Jim Barksdale,
Mhm.
all of those were very approachable because it was a small company and you could walk to them and talk to them and they would be there in the playing field as well with you, right? And I
Mhm.
was like a sponge, right?
Mhm.
Observe and absorb, right? Soak it in, right? And
Mhm.
that really affected me.
Mhm.
There I worked, I was in the, I was in a group, it was called, it was an e-commerce group where we would bring using Netscape technologies. We would bring some of the e-commerce enablement to the market, like general store, merchant server, transact server. To enable e-commerce, right? I mean, that was the part of the group that I was in. And
Mhm.
while enabling the e-commerce platform, I also worked on a marketing automation platform to
Mhm.
make sure that whatever we are bringing to the life in G Store, have legs and they sell more and more out there. And which learning led to founding of my first company, Market First Software, right? Which later got acquired by Pivotal. Then my manufacturing experience in a disk drive company I worked gave me, an insight into how do I optimize certain operations within a manufacturing, unit. And that helped me found Makume Software, a company dedicated towards optimizing manufacturing operations. And it was acquired by Versant. There I was invited, accidentally to a conference in Miami, where, it was a conference of physical security,
Mhm.
people. And I went there thinking, I mean, till then I had no clue, no idea of physical security. I went there thinking that it was all prepaid trip for me, I'll just enjoy Miami. But when I entered into the conference and started learning about this thing, I noticed a great opportunity out there, that how behind the physical security industry is compared to the IT industry, maybe 20, 25 years behind. And there's a lot of opportunity out there, right? And that led me to founding of Quantum Secure. So there's always a source of problem that you have to have a keen interest in
Mhm.
and a probing mind to recognize it, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it was having a keen eye to see disruptive patterns and then, learning about them and then just getting off the ground pretty much.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. And that's very important,
Yeah.
is to keep your mind open. Right? I always say if you have an open mind
Mhm.
and you are learning, right, you will find ideas left and right because you will see opportunities here and there.
Right. Like you said, you were a sponge, right? I mean,
Right.
just so, Ajay, tell me, why is entrepreneurship so rare? I mean, I guess some of it has to do with the fear of starting, but is it also due to the fear of failure, as vast majority of ventures go belly up or don't succeed?
Well, uh, well, I would say that entrepreneurship is not rare, right? At least in my view. Uh,
Okay.
in fact, it's rare if you connote it to just money, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's rare. In
Mhm.
fact, the age-old definition of the entrepreneurship should also change with the changing and evolving definition of everything else in the world, right? In
Mhm.
my mind, an entrepreneur is the one who takes a leadership position, right? And then creates value in whatever he or she undertakes, right? It's that simple. The
Mhm.
value could be monetary, or value could be something else, right? Today's money obsessed society, I think, have wrongly connoted entrepreneurship with money.
Mhm.
I have a problem with that personally,
Mhm.
right? Upesh, okay, look at yourself, for
Yeah.
example, right?
Yeah.
You are following your passion,
Right.
right? Your dream, you're leading this charge with an exact channel, right? You are
Right.
creating a value for your viewers. Yeah, you may not be making money on this, at least for now, right?
Yeah.
But you are a true entrepreneur as well, right? You call, and it's called social entrepreneurship, right? So many people, so many organizations are out there who would lead to create a better society, a better environment, a better community, right? Those are all entrepreneurs. Then there are other people, right? People who are in the research field, there are Nobel laureates out there. They lead their way in a research and create tremendous value for the society, right? They are research entrepreneurs as well. They don't probably make money or the oodles of money. That's like a old definition of entrepreneurs would do. And what about our Army, Navy, Air Force, Police Force, right? They create tremendous value in guaranteeing safety to us, right? To all citizens, right? They are entrepreneurs as well. In fact, my favorite one relates to women who are homemakers and stay at home and raise family, right? They're tremendous leaders as well. They create an amazing value as well, right? There are a lot of such phenomenal leaders in our society, but most of the time they go unnoticed. In fact, they should start calling themselves as domestic entrepreneur or a family entrepreneur as well, right? Then there are many such wonderful women leaders who not only raise family, but also work in the industry simultaneously, right? That includes our individual spouses as well, right? They are super family entrepreneurs too, right? I mean, my wife started the business even before I did. She started her own practice even before I did, right? And raised the family simultaneously. So you have to have an open mind, an ability to recognize leaders around you, and you will find that the world is full of entrepreneurs, not in the older definition, but in a broader definition, as I just said. Not all are after monetary gains, though. Can I ask you one question, Upesh, since you're talking
Sure.
entrepreneurship? Let's switch gear for a second here, and let me be the interviewer of you.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question, because we talked about you as a social entrepreneur, and you sort of started your own passion, worked your own passion, started this channel, right?
Yeah.
Exec Talk channel. So it's a great idea, no doubt about it, right? What prompted you to start this initiative now? And what do you want to achieve with this endeavor?
Yeah. So, as Steve Jobs said, the dots connect at a certain point in life, right? And so all my life, I had been working. I've been in the Valley for 30 plus years. I've observed all kinds of stories, people, starting companies, selling companies, people rising within the same company, all kinds of permutations, combinations. So, you hear about some of the more pronounced ones like the Googles of the world and the Metas of the world, but there's so many unsung heroes who have contributed to this area, and they have come from all over the globe and brought their cultures and their work ethic and leadership, business acumen, etc. So I just wanted to kind of harness that, and, put it out there for whoever was interested in consuming it, right?
No,
and benefiting and improving their lives. So that
I think it's phenomenal. I think your example
Yeah.
should be followed by so many of your viewers as well. There's no right or wrong age. I mean, I personally think there is, if you are in the monetary side of the house, you should start young, right? I mean, there's a right age. But if you're passionate about things, right, there's no right or wrong age. You just have to plunge in and do the stuff that you really love to do, right? And then that becomes, your the music, in your mind, the relaxation in your mind, because you are doing things that feeds your, yourself, right? So congratulations on doing that.
Thank you. So, Ajay, tell me one thing. Entrepreneurship requires so much hard work and dedication of time. So, as an entrepreneur, is work-life balance possible? And what are the sacrifices you have to make as an entrepreneur, and what keeps you balanced in life? Are there any observations there?
Sure. Yes, it is possible, right? There is a method to this madness, and there are two basic rules to achieve. Rule number one, keep your spouse very happy all the time. And rule number two, follow the rule number one. On
That's
a
what
serious,
Warren Buffett. Yeah.
on a serious note, your spouse is the most, your family and spouse is the most important ingredient in work-life balance, right? Your
Mhm,
spouse has to be equally committed uh,
mhm,
to you becoming an entrepreneur, right? Hard work, late nights, less family time, all are possible, right? And it's gonna happen. You cannot avoid it if you're really a true entrepreneur, right? In
mhm,
my case, my wife was supporting me all through, right? And she always becomes my pillar of strength when I'm going through a rough patch in business. Ups
mhm,
and downs are cyclical,
mhm,
and it happens to everyone. So you need to have a very rock solid spouse and a family, to
mhm.
basically help you keep the work life balance in check, right? And
Right.
see, the term work life balance means that you need to optimize your work
Mhm,
and you need to optimize your family life. And you also need to optimize your social life, your entertainment, your health, and everything associated with that, right? So at work, right? I mean, if your family is committed to you, your spouse is committed to you, so at work, it's your team, right?
mhm,
That can make it happen, right? If you have a phenomenal team, you have a great co-founders, you have a great executive staff, you can really rely on them, you can trust them, you can delegate things to them effectively, you
mhm.
can achieve a work-life balance as well, right? And
Right.
lastly, but not the least, it's this social circle you are playing under, right? If you have a great set of friends, right, a great, social circle, you
Mhm,
remain healthy, you're committed to your health,
right.
so that you don't have to go to the hospital every now and then, right? You have to really take care of your body,
Yeah.
just like you would take care of your work, or your startup, right? Then you have achieved the work-life balance as such, right? It does not mean that you will work less. It means that you will just work smarter. So
Mhm.
that's what I have to say about the work-life balance.
No, that's those are good words. I mean, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? I mean, so I mean, in this case, you have it's a balancing act, basically,
True.
right?
Very
That
true.
you have to use your time judiciously and prioritize things that matter to you. I guess,
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ajay, I hear that you're a music lover. What's your favorite song? And what does a day in the life of Ajay look like?
Uh, well, let me start with the day in life. It's easier, right?
Okay.
So I'm up usually early in the morning. My work meetings start at 6:30 a.m. on many days of the week,
Wow. Mhm.
and I'd like to get 6 hours of sleep if I'm lucky, right? Generally, it's between 5 hours to 6 hours of sleep, right? It's not very consistent, right? Nowadays, I'm practicing something called intermittent fasting on weekdays. So
Mhm.
I only eat within the 8 hours window
Mhm.
and fast for about 16 hours, which means that I take dinner at 7 p.m.
Mhm.
Right. And then my first meal, which is the breakfast, is at around 11 o'clock, right?
Wow.
And my breakfast consists of a serving of fruit uh,
Mhm.
and an almond milk with some chia seeds in it. And then my lunch is usually two boiled eggs with many times a protein bread or something else, that goes along, which has some protein in it, right? And dinner is usually around 6:30, 7 p.m., right? So, and
Mhm.
I love to have a glass of wine with my dinner, but it's
Mhm.
not a must condition. I do enjoy wine and whiskey and tequila from time to time, right? So,
Yeah.
not every day, but I do
The yin and the yang together.
yeah, yin and yang together, right? You got to have some of these vices as well.
Yeah.
I tend to exercise at about 5 p.m. after I get off work every day, and this is must. I mean, this keeps me sane always, right? I
Okay.
have a gym at home. I do some weights. I run on the treadmill
Mhm.
uh, and watch. Whenever I'm on treadmill, either I watch a Netflix movie or a serial or a Amazon Prime movie or a serial of that day, but
Mhm.
that gives me about 45 minutes of a treadmill till the serial ends. So, that gives me a pretty good, time to exercise. I also have a dog, a German Shepherd dog, right? Kia. So I
Mhm.
take her for a walk occasionally every week, few days in a week as well. So
Nice.
that's sort of my exercise routine. And now I'm planning to dive myself into starting to play pickleball, which is the
That's the
growing
yeah.
American sport in the evening. I haven't played it, but I'm very intrigued about it. So I'm going to dive
Good.
into it, and I'll convert part of my tennis court into a pickleball court and see what happens. So, and my work becomes sporadic after 5 p.m. But work continues till about 10:30 p.m. Right? I am never completely off. Something or the other comes in. I have to respond to an email or read a document and do certain kinds of things. But I don't know whether it's good or bad. But that's sort of how.
You're not taking any meetings after.
Yeah, I don't take
much time, but you're still monitoring stuff. Right?
Yeah, although we do have team in India, so if there is a meeting, it usually starts at about 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. So I do usually go on to those meetings as well. But usually I'm not, as much required because I have a phenomenal team and they take care of that meetings in India. Usually I go off to sleep at midnight. I like to read or listen to some. I like to read some books or listen to some podcast of some kind, right? Something that gives me a new learning, right? Your brain needs to be sharp, your neurons needs to, be in check all the time. So I keep on learning something new. And that's it, and I start the next day in the same fashion. My weekends are a little different. Weekends, I spend time with my dear friends, my family, lots of entertainment, lots of music, lots of food and things like that. And then Monday, I go back.
That you mentioned, hiking.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, weekend is reserved for all kinds of stuff, right? Hiking is one of them. And so that's sort of the routine I have. And
disciplined, I would say, very disciplined, and especially the eating part. It's extremely and exercise part. So kudos to you for maintaining that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think if you take care of your body, the body will take care of you, right? I mean, they go hand in hand. And I think it's important to exercise, important to eat right. And then you have, a few more years to enjoy life, right? I guess. So you asked about the music. You asked about the song. I do love music. As far as the song is concerned, there are several of them, but one of them stands out as a life song for me. Right?
Okay.
It was written and sung by Bobby McFerrin a long time back. I think you probably may have guessed it.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear it from you. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to sing it, but it's don't.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Be happy. In every life we have some trouble. But when you worry, you tend to double. So don't worry and be happy. Be happy now.
Wow. What a note to end this extremely deep and, informative conversation. Thank you, Ajay. I'd like to thank you for sharing your entrepreneurial journey with me and my viewers. It's commendable that you have innovated and contributed so much to the Silicon Valley ecosystem and everything through your startups. And now you continue to do so via your philanthropy. I know you didn't touch upon that too much, and you do that from the goodness of your heart. But, you've touched several lives through that. I'm sure that there are future entrepreneurs who will totally benefit from your life and your learnings. Thanks for your time. Wish you all the best in whatever you do, future endeavors. And it was absolutely a pleasure talking to you, Ajay. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Upesh. Once again, congratulations for this amazing initiative you have taken. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.